So hello and welcome to Carey Olsen's breakout session, where our topic of conversation today is living, employed and deployed in Tech Central. Today we've got a great session of panelists, Tasha Jones, Stephanie Shih and Jeff Barron. The topics of discussion are, what are the job opportunities that this tech boom in Bermuda is going to provide for people on the island? Also, why would anyone bring their business to establish in Bermuda? And why would someone come and work here and live here? So first off, I'm going to put a question to each of the panelists to say, just explain your role and briefly how you got into your role in this sector in Bermuda. And Tasha, I'll put that to you first.
Hi, thanks for having me here. This is fun. So I'm with StableHouse. I started out as an operations consultant 2 years ago, July 2019. My main goal was to get us to the point of achieving or getting our M license, with our digital asset business license. And once I got that, I basically stayed in an operations capacity. And right now I'm leading up our counterparty relationships. The company StableHouse is a platform, digital asset platform that we're hoping to launch very soon, basically so that people can earn, trade, and pay with cryptocurrency and specifically stable coins. So we're really excited. The company has expanded quite a bit here in Bermuda and also around the world.
Thanks very much. Stephanie.
Hi, so I'm Tasha Jones' colleague. I also work for StableHouse, but mainly I'm the general counsel for the parent company of StableHouse, XBTO, and the group, the Offshore group. And I'm based in New York.
Thanks very much, Steph. And Jeff.
Hi, good day, everyone. Thanks, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be on the panel with Tasha and Stephanie. I'm a Bermudian, so we're going to talk a bit about the central hub here in Bermuda, but the tech hub, but as my home, it's pretty exciting to talk about. Currently the Chief Compliance Officer for Bittrex Global Bermuda. I've been in risk management and in compliance for over 10 years, includes public and private sector and in government. I think what we're going to talk about is opportunities, and I saw one. A year ago, Bittrex Global Bermuda was given its full Class F license, Digital Asset Bermuda license by the BMA. And I saw that as an opportunity to join a pretty exciting industry, an exciting company that was in growth mode. And it has been an absolute pleasure and quite fun, actually, to learn the industry, but to see how it's grown so quickly here home in Bermuda.
Great, thanks, Jeff. So I guess the first question for our audience is going to be that, what are the opportunities? If you're a young Bermudian, resident on the island, or even abroad, and you're studying and you want to come back home, what are the types of working opportunities are there? And what areas should younger Bermudians be looking to possibly train in, where there's going to be jobs in the future? Because obviously this is, we're starting to see jobs created on the island, but obviously it's not an immediate overnight event. So what should they be doing? Anyone can answer that.
But I think, look, there's this misunderstanding that, fintech or particularly, digital assets is open for business only to those who are Bitcoin enthusiasts. The ecosystem really does touch on every sector, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're in operations management, human resources, compliance, risk functions. The ecosystem within fintech, within the digital asset space in Bermuda, touches almost every sector. That's exciting. Operation management, office management, executive assistants, they're all part of our ecosystem now, and that's only going to grow. So if you are someone who's looking to come back to Bermuda, you're Bermudian, or if you're someone who's looking to migrate their business over to Bermuda, just know that the ecosystem includes almost every sector within itself. It's not just for enthusiasts who are trading Bitcoins. This is a large ecosystem that requires people who have legal backgrounds, risk, compliance, operations backgrounds, which is actually the exciting sell point.
Yeah.
And I'll also add what we're seeing. Stephanie and I can definitely attest to this. is that I think that certainly as more exchanges come online and more different fintech companies come to market, accounting is a really big source of that we need. We need accountants, because when we're talking about all the fund flows, all of the FX, all of the things that are going on, and that's typically something that, Bermuda is an accounting hub as well. So if you're, someone who was thinking about going into accounting, here's this other great industry that's growing and has the support of our regulator and, our government in the way that we're expanding. And then also, of course, software engineers and developers, right? There's no shortage of those worldwide. And so certainly, to do that, if you're someone who's either being educated in Bermuda or elsewhere, or if you want to come home or you want to stay wherever you are, that is definitely a growing field, and there's lots of demand for those coders.
That's right. Just for example, at StableHouse, it started, 2 years ago with maybe 3 employees, and now, we are hiring chief compliance officers. We are hiring office managers locally. We always need engineers. Even someone who's good at social media. Customer support is something that's recently been high up on our list of what we need to employ. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of opportunities in Bermuda and even outside of Bermuda to support the companies.
So effectively what we're saying is that it's not about, Jeff, you put it, just because you're not a blockchain or a Bitcoin fanatic, it doesn't mean you can't get employed in this sector. And in fact, all the current jobs that feed the existing infrastructure and the existing businesses are going to be basically duplicated just in a new sector.
Absolutely, but the good news is if you want to wear a hoodie, your boss might let you. So it's still again, it's still a cool industry, believe me.
That's great. Now, Tasha, you mentioned the whole, the first one to mention it, coding and engineering, and Steph, you touched upon that as well, and also then into social media. Can you talk a bit more? I mean, we don't have any coders or engineers on this session, but what exactly are coders and engineers? What are they doing in this sector? And how would some young Bermudian actually go about getting into that and finding more about it?
Yeah, the curriculum, so computer science, is definitely has grown to kind of the specific engineering software development field. And so basically these guys are the ones who are writing the code, writing the software that's needed in order for your exchange to work, in order for your integration with all of your APIs, so applied program interfaces, in order for that integration to happen with, so for example, for us, we use a third-party service provider in order to run our KYC. So that has to be an automated process. So we need our software devs to be able to write that code so it can speak with us, our company, and the other company that we're using for that service. That's just kind of one example. Yeah.
So when you're talking about computer science, so we're looking at people who are degree level for that sort of sort of work line. Yeah. Yes,
typically, or some sort of certification as well. So we have a Bermudian who's a junior software engineer working out of our under our major product lead, whose background is a software engineer. So he's learning on the job, but he also has studied and got his degree in computer science. So.
And Stephanie, then the sort of social media side of things, what exactly is the sector looking for there? Is it publicity? Is it marketing? Is that the kind of role we're looking at?
I mean, it's a bit of both. There's a lot of marketing that's required for startup. And, nowadays everything's about tweeting, right? And being able to do it correctly and, having the right audience for it. Something that used to be done for fun is now actually a career that people can look into and look at. So
what would be the qualifications? I mean, if you're looking to employ somebody into that sector, I'd imagine, somebody walking in and saying, well, I just tweet a lot and I understand social media is not going to cut the mustard.
Yeah.
So what sort of qualifications could a young Bermudian get that would allow them to start working in that space? Is it purely, are you looking and saying marketing degree or what? I'm sure it's broader than that.
Yeah, I'd imagine a marketing degree and work experience in the relevant sector, being quite tech savvy as well, would all be relevant.
All of those. So Jeff, just coming back to, I don't want to call it the more mundane area like accounting, law and compliance, but to get into compliance, I mean, I'm a lawyer and we have a compliance team and we can advise on AML and ATF and all that, but how would someone who doesn't want to necessarily become a lawyer actually get in to become a compliance professional? Is there actually a line of study they could take?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question because I think reflexively, many people think that is a requirement. I have to do, further, second or post-secondary in law, et cetera, when you don't. Compliance is its own recognized sector now, right? Which is why there's a chief compliance officer, and that's what I'm doing right now. So it's separate from law, from the legal advisors. I've run compliance teams for banks, investment firms, and helped out with the National Anti-Money Laundering Committee here in Bermuda. So the compliance professionals may have an entry in various ways. There are accredited courses that you can do in your own time remotely through the ACAMS, the Association of Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialists, ICA. There are so many other governing bodies that you can begin to receive certifications and qualifications in those. And meanwhile, like I said before, the ecosystem of fintech, digital assets, and cyber really pulls the best, I think, from all the other traditional sort of industries. You'll have people who've worked at a bank running compliance or working in compliance for different industries come over and want to work in fintech. It is new, and the good news is a lot of times because it's so new in Bermuda, they're going to the prerequisite of having 3 to 5 years in a digital asset company experience for Bermudian. You're not going to find anyone, and yet we're finding Bermudians who are motivated, who may know the industry a little bit, and are willing to do further learning while they're in the job within their compliance space. And they're rock stars. So, it's really exciting. It does not require 8 years of university to come into compliance. It does require a certain amount of energy and a certain, of investigative desire, ability, and those certifications you can do in your own time. I've done them and my colleagues have done them. So yeah, it's a great point. And I think, anyone, I'm always, pushing people towards compliance because it's an industry that's continually growing and certainly is going to continue to grow within fintech. Yeah,
no, agree. I mean, that's what we're seeing as well in terms of opportunity and as a growth area to advising as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the way you talk about there that you're finding Bermudians who are interested in doing this and that you call them rock stars. That's great because we're all living on a rock.
I didn't mean that pun, but
it sounded great. I mean, let's look at it from the perspective of someone looking potentially to come and actually establish their business here, because one of the fundamental problems people face is recruitment. Can they find the talent? So, I mean, and also, what's it like anyway, bringing a business to Bermuda and setting up here? I mean, the kind of things I want to contribute to that point is that we obviously have an existing professional infrastructure and expertise because of the existing business here. So we have accountants, we have lawyers, we have compliance officers, we have administrators, we have all of that already servicing existing industries. Reinsurance, to say as one. We also have a very pro-tech government. They are behind and are very much pushing this whole regime of Digital Asset Business Act, Digital Asset Issuance Act, excuse me, and making things as easy as possible to allow companies to establish here, help them with concierge services through immigration, finding office space and all of that. But what would you say is the most attractive from your own business perspectives and maybe your personal ones that you've experienced and can point to anyone listening are reasons why you would want to bring your tech company to Bermuda, and to allay any fears that there isn't anyone on the island at all who knows anything about digital assets, because clearly there are. Does someone want to pick that one up? Tash.
I would say certainly, I mean, just kind of from my own direct experience with, our founder, Philippe, who basically decided to, set up shop here a few years ago. And the big part of that, I think the regulatory regime really definitely is a big attraction for tech companies, because that is the thing that, as you see in the news, around the world, governments, local governments and central banks, et cetera, are still trying to figure out how to regulate the industry, how to regulate the assets, the securities, the products, everything. And so for us to have kind of a really good handle on that, I think that is a massive draw, because then you get your street cred and you don't really have to worry about, ever being in the headlines of not, of being non-compliant or possibly, violating whatever laws there are, or not registering when you should be registered somewhere. So I think that is a massive draw. And then, Bermuda is a great place to live if you want to set up a small shop. You don't really look at tech companies to be like a massive, at least fintech companies, at least what we're seeing now. You don't need to have like hundreds and hundreds of employees. So you can have a small office, you can have a small ecosystem here that also has a very big global reach. And with our tech, internet capabilities, et cetera, and our proximity as well, our time zone, all of that stuff is kind of a big attraction when you're trying to do things globally.
Right. Yeah, I like the point you made about the global connectivity there, the infrastructure behind that. I was actually on another panel hosted by Fiona Beck, which was all about the submarine cabling legislation we've actually just put in place, which I think is going to grow another area of hardware business and engineering and other job opportunities for that, as and when we see new cabling potentially coming to Bermuda. Stephanie, on that same point, you've worked in Bermuda as a lawyer, and you now work in New York for a Bermuda tech company. From your perspective, what's the attraction of having a business in Bermuda?
Well, obviously, whatever Tasha had just mentioned, the proximity for me being in New York to Bermuda, and everybody on the East Coast. Also, personally, I really enjoyed living in Bermuda, and if it wasn't for COVID, I would also, be spending a lot more time in Bermuda as an employee working in Bermuda. For business, for fintech companies, don't be scared of regulation. It actually has been great to have, the BMA regulate us. They have different classes of licenses. You have the sandbox license, the M license, the F license. It's been, having a regulator work beside you and, and be able to grow the business with the regulation is just something that not a lot of jurisdictions are able to provide.
Right, thank you. And Jeff?
Yeah, there are three distinct advantages that Bermuda has over, shall we say, competitors, whether offshore or not. First and foremost, Stephen, you mentioned we have a government that is very forward-leaning in this space. They want to see success. They've been advancing legislation to then really advance fintech, the ecosystem, and launch our Digital Asset Business Act in 2018. So you're going to have a capable and willing partner within the government. Secondly, our regulator is very well thought of. Their jurisdiction itself has an extremely favorable rating. When you look at mutual evaluations from the Financial Action Task Force, you look at our jurisdictional ratings, Bermuda's really scored and is considered top class from those two aspects. And then thirdly, it's got to make sense for a company. There's so many talented individuals and Bermudians here that are gaining, or the interest is gaining momentum for the opportunities in fintech. Companies are going to come here and they're going to enjoy a really good, capable partner within the government. They're going to enjoy a really robust and capable partner in the regulator. but also what they're going to find here is an international business community that has thrived in the last 30 years with reinsurance, insurance, and law firms. So they're going to be amongst, intelligent, very successful businesses. And like Tasha said, and Stephanie said, the proximity to the East Coast is 1 hour. The proximity to London is 4 hours. We're right in the middle of the Atlantic. Strategically, it makes so much sense if you're working with partners across the Atlantic or on the East Coast. So really, Bermuda does have a tremendous advantage over other jurisdictions. And, again, as a Bermudian, that's something that I make sure I say loud and proud.
Very much so, very much so. One of the things, I don't know if you agree with this, but one of the things I really love about working here myself and have found, particularly with this industry, is it's almost like we're becoming a Silicon Valley of the Atlantic, in that you can go down and meet somebody, a client or a friend in that sector, and across the table is somebody from the other business across the road, and across from the next table there's the CEO from another business, and everybody knows each other. And to me, that's critical when you're looking to try and grow innovative new business and looking for talent, and that access to those people. For people looking, talent looking for work and looking just to experience is really tangible. I don't know if you've got the same experience, Tasha and Jeff, on Ireland right now. Obviously, Steph, haven't been around for enough time to know what the cafes are like these days, but would you agree?
Absolutely. Everyone's talking about fintech. Everyone wants to know, because they know that I work for a fintech cryptocurrency exchange, what's going on, because there's such a buzz around fintech. And it's not just when, in the newspapers from what, the government and industry are saying. There are individuals who are in various sectors who you'll sit down with, and you've heard, Stephen, so many people here, it's small, but they're all talking about the excitement of Bermuda's tech boom. And it's great to be part of that.
And just again, from direct experience, when I started out StableHouse, we were in our office and we had 7 desks, and there were 3 people there full time. Now we have moved to a bigger space, and we've actually had to order more desks because we've hired more people. And that's happened. And some of the people, Jeff and I, have worked together, before this, in different life in the charity sector, third sector. But here we are together, and that is the key thing about working in Bermuda anyway, but also to be in a fintech ecosystem that is growing, but also very, very small and very community-like. You see people all the time, and people are we're adding more people to our ecosystem, which is great. And you have a lot of support services here as well.
I was going to say, so you said you just bought new furniture. So in fact, there's opportunity for people working in furniture and office gear and sales. That's going to be increasing as well, effectively. Another point you were talking about is the sophistication of people on the island, and that to me is a critical one when we move to the topic of actually attracting foreigners to come, those with real expertise in this sector who can then train and assist in developing people and the infrastructure itself. I mean, one of the attractions for me coming to Bermuda some 21 years ago was the fact that as a lawyer from London and qualified in New York, I could be doing the same quality of work out of Bermuda as I would be in either New York or London or any of the other international hubs, and the same standard and sophistication requirement as a professional, and working with people of that same standard. And yet I was living in a wonderful, almost a small town feel, where you would meet everybody in the street, and everybody still says good morning and hello. As I came to work this morning, in fact, I said morning more times than I think I have ever done in quite some time. But then I have been in quarantine for a few days, so haven't been out myself. But on that basis, I mean, would you agree? I mean, Stephanie particularly, maybe you want to tell everybody the jurisdictions where you've worked before you even came to Bermuda and how you found that as a sort of an appealing aspect.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in Hong Kong. I've worked in Hong Kong, and then I moved to Singapore. I've worked in London, and then when I moved to New York for personal reasons, I've discovered that hey, there's a place that's close to East Coast, and that practices common law. And so when I checked it out, it was just mind blowing how you know, when I go into the office, everything is just set up as if I were in Hong Kong, London. You know, the technology is there, the people are, you know, everybody's really on top of things. But, you know, after work on the weekends, you can go and, you know, go paddleboarding, and go visit the beach, go tanning. You know, it's just the quality of life that Bermuda provides is just great and top notch.
It's another world, as we say.
Yeah.
And I just want to add as well that you have the opportunity in Bermuda to be a really good corporate citizen. So you can definitely, you don't have to do much to like have a massive impact in whatever you decide to do, whether it's charitable, whether it's to compete, you know, in some of the marathons we have or the races we have or whatever. It's just a great community feel. And for a company, especially one that's growing, you can really kind of get your roots in. And have a massive impact in a positive way.
That's great to hear. So in terms of then living in Bermuda, I mean, I've got my own personal favorites about what I enjoy doing, and interestingly, people might be looking at this going, okay, I'm a lawyer in London and I work X amount of hours. If I actually come to Bermuda and have the same level of sophisticated work, what's the quality of life? What am I doing? How many hours am I going to be in that office? And I think I can safely say that you will work as many hours here as you could elsewhere, but it's what you can do outside of the office. You know, it's funny, when I came to Bermuda, I'd been commuting an hour in London, and in Bermuda, I don't think there's anywhere you can commute for an hour. I now actually have a house that's, if it wasn't for my neighbor's house, I could see it from my office. Some people say that's probably, they don't want that, that's too close to home. But the point being is that you can get to work very quickly in numerous ways as well, by ferry or by boat or by bike or by foot. So for me, there is that wonderful, you actually add hours to your life that you would have otherwise spent commuting. And when you are commuting, usually the weather and the climate is far better than anywhere else I've worked in my own life. But what about yourselves? What would you say are the key points, the quality of life aspects that for the two, for Tasha and Jeff, who are here, that have retained you here and kept you here? I'm sure there are other reasons as well, personal ones perhaps, but also why you enjoy it so much. And Steph, for you, what do you remember most that was so enjoyable? So I'll open that floor to everyone.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. Look, you're 5 minutes, anywhere you live, you're 5 minutes from a beach. And by the way, one of the best beaches in the world. You're going to be within a community that's smart, that's capable, that is an international hub, that is as cosmopolitan as you will get in an island. And again, the proximity to East Coast and London, there are 7-8 direct flights every day. If for some reason you need to go overseas and go to get big malls and shop, you can do that so easily. But having Bermuda as a home has been a very special thing. I'm amongst some amazing people, some exciting businesses, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm excited to be here, and I hope to see new companies come in.
Yeah.
I'll say quickly.
Just saying, when I left 2 years ago, the people. The things that I miss most are the people, the place, the weather. So yeah, those are everything that I miss.
We miss you too, Stephanie.
And I'll just say everything that everyone else has said. Certainly the things that you can do, beach life, island life is great. But I've lived in New York, LA, and now here in Bermuda, and I've had the most social life that I've ever had in my life. And it's fantastic. And I've been here for 13 years, and I still meet wonderful, amazing people. I'm like, how have I never seen you before, met you before? And every year it's the same. So yeah, socially, it's just amazing. And the quality of life is really, really high. And you get to earn great money.
You get to what? I missed that, Tasha.
Earn great money.
And great money, absolutely a key point. So I think we need to wrap this up. But thank you very much for coming on, all three of you, Tasha, Steph, and Jeff. I think the key message here is to those Bermudians and residents looking to work in this sector. Don't think you have to know everything about Bitcoin or even have any Bitcoin to join. And I think it's safe to say, as the industry is what it is on the island, reach out to anybody you know. I think everybody in this sector, just like in the others, in insurance, reinsurance, etc., the people are welcoming to hear of anyone who's got any interest, be it in compliance, be it in law, be it in accounting even. I say even as if who would want to do that, but you know, all these areas. I think the message to go out is say, reach out to anybody you know and ask them what's available, what's going on. But with that, I think we will wrap it up there. Thanks again for coming. I hope the audience have enjoyed the session. Obviously, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to any one of our panelists or myself. And we look forward to hopefully welcoming you all in person to next year's Tech Summit. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.